we're living in an age where everyone's trying to be the clown. Everyone's trying to be the heel. Everyone's trying to say the thing to get people outraged. And okay, I guess this puts eyes on the product, but this can irreparably ruin like an IP and your brand just for a couple of clicks, right? And I guess owning the gamer chuds is like congratulations. Like I hope you can sleep at night, but you just create people that just will not buy your product, will actively go against your product, will grift your downfall. Like people, everyone likes to talk about the grifters, but nobody wants to talk about why they exist. The reasons people are moving to these YouTubers shitting on these current day games. Like no one wants to think, oh, maybe there's just people who have opinions and just go towards people to affirm them. Right? You like to think people are just ants or blank slates that just rummage about the place until they hear someone shitting on Interstellar and they're like, oh, and they just run towards that. No, people don't act like that, right? You may think people do. This is probably how you act, but normal people don't, right? But anyway, let's give Naughty Dog has completely lost the plot. Not surprised. Again, they had one game that, again, Neil Cuckman can be the heel about, which was Last of Us 2, and now he thinks he's the fucking messiah of gaming, even though Amy Hennig built that entire company from the ground up, and Neil Cuckman is actively pissing on it. Let's give us a watch.
Point, everything's being politicized or polarized in some way, shape, or form. We're watching companies burn billions of dollars. There's been this growing obsession with division in gaming. I think everybody has felt it at this point. Everything's being politicized or polarized in some way, shape, or form. We're watching companies burn billions of dollars accomplishing nothing. Meanwhile, some of the most successful games, well, they're not drawing a line in the sand. They're opening a door and welcoming people in. So what brings somebody to disregard that entirely? Oh, there's this thing that a lot of people don't really seem to like. I'm gonna do more of it. Recently, Neil Druckmann shared details about their upcoming game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. And in it, he completely disregards a lot of the negative feedback around The Last of Us Part 2, mocking it in a lot of cases, and basically saying that the next game is going to be even worse. I think that the
Yeah, and again, that's telling. It's the if you don't like it, don't buy it crowd. The people that actively seek to want to push out to defend these products that just don't sell. Like, I know you think you're dissing somebody and you're dissing this fictional character in your head that you're created and imposing on everyone else, but I mean, at the end of the day, the games aren't selling, right? And people getting laid off. IPs are getting destroyed. Ubisoft's collapsing in on itself. Intercell's probably going to sell, maybe because people are curious, but will it meet their ever expanding expectations of a multi billion dollar company? Like, we live in an age where 100,000 copies sold in a AAA company is not enough. So, and they don't even look at numbers sold, they look at players. So, people they probably handed the games to for free, or people that have, the Xbox Game Pass and get it for free and play it for 2 seconds and they're like, this game sucks. People that buy it, hey, maybe some people buy the game, play it for an hour, then refund it. Like, we don't know. They're purposefully obfuscating the numbers just to try defending a bad product, right?
most successful studios are the ones that are the most humble. They take in feedback, good or bad, they process it, and then they implement that into their game. While they are creatives, they understand that they are making something that people are supposed to want to buy. There are decisions that you can make, there are things that you can do, but at the end of the day, people have to buy your game. Otherwise, you go out of business. There is this misconception that artistic integrity means refusing to compromise, but the best creatives in this industry understand the difference between challenging your audience and alienating them.
Yeah, again, the mindset is always to just be stubborn. Like, and I've read people Twitter give me NDAs, and I don't know if they're even. It's like, are you allowed to give this to me, right? But an NDA of like many like game companies or entertainment companies, like they have clauses that if you talk against the direction of the product being made, they can just fire you, right? Like that is a reason to be terminated. It doesn't matter how good of a say a coder you are or an artist or if you've worked for the company and actually made the company profitable. It doesn't matter. If you talk against the product, that they can just fire you. And this is something that makes no sense to me because again, it's like, what are you mass producing a product? Like you're making art. That's what video games are at the end of the day, right? And I mean the product in the sense that you sell it for a price and people pay for it, but it's also artistic in nature. So it does require some level of creativity and malleability, but no, they want to mass produce it and just shove it out. And not only that, they demand the customer pay for it because if you don't, you're a bad person. Like I miss when companies were just greedy because that's the devil. Now companies are greedy and altruistic, like they attach social problems to their product to where if you go against the product, you're against the social issue and you're a thisis or a thatis or put racial fucking or whatever fucking label here, social label here, right? And it's like people are just not having it. It's like if not wanting to buy our stupid product, bad product makes me a racist, then fine. And I must be stupid, right? I guess I flew in from stupid town, but if you attach, your social issue to a bad fucking product, doesn't that damage like the message you're trying to get across? Like I must have flown in from stupid town because I think yes.
The more you treat your audience like an obstacle, the more likely you are to get exactly what you want and avoid them entirely. With billions of dollars lost at this point, you would think that studios might want to take a step back and reassess. There are themes, characters, messages, and art styles that simply aren't resonating with players, and forcing them harder isn't going to change that. The industry, hell, the world itself is more divided than it's ever been, and a fractured audience is bad for business. Naughty Dog's upcoming game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, or perhaps more aptly named The Self-Defeating Prophet at this point, was first introduced back at the Game Awards 2024, and I won't lie, on a visual level, it looks great. The art direction is striking, the retro futuristic aesthetic is cool, and even though I'm not really a big fan of blatant product placement, the ship, the time period, and the anime playing on the monitor all give it a really strong identity. It has a...
But you have a woman shaving her hair. She scoffs at the fucking anime after this, which pissed me off. And it's her talking to this like 50-year-old lady, but they're having a conversation like they're in fucking high school. And it's like, no, like, again, looking at her and looking at that old lady with the eye patch, it's like, is this really, like, in there? I guess they're supposed to be professionals. Is this the discussion they would have? Like, I know the discussion grown-ass women have. It's not this, Chief, It isn't, like, I know the discussion 12-year-old girls have. Yeah, that's pretty much what they had.
a lot of things that should appeal to a pretty broad audience.
Only at the time they were probably talking about fucking Justin Bieber, or if you're fucking Team Edward or Team Jason, fucking stupid shit. Yeah, she scoffs at the fucking anime.
At the game's reveal was met with resounding backlash. The trailer racked up 2.5 million views on YouTube, along with a devastating 286,000 dislikes. Across comment sections and social media, the most common criticism wasn't about the gameplay or setting, it was about the character. And I said this in my reaction to the Game Awards, but I'm gonna say it again. This is an 80s themed sci-fi action game that is set in space. Your audience is predominantly male. A masculine, rough around the edges bald woman is going to be an incredibly difficult sell, especially when players have become hyper aware to social and political messaging in video games and how.
And not only that, right? I mean, again, I'm looking at gacha games and why they're selling like hotcakes, right? Like, are you going to pretend and act like having a hot woman in a game that's for men is a bad thing? Like, are we going to sit at the kids' table and act like this is a bad thing? Or are we just going to accept that, yeah, there are interests guys have that are like, yeah, no shit. Like the same interest 50-year-old middle-aged single women have towards like the 50 Shades of Grey. Or like, you know, the type of women that would drag their boyfriends kicking and screaming to see fucking Twilight. Like, we need to go back to just understanding things exist. You might not like it, but please, for the love of God, don't be a fucking Karen ass about it.
Often it's forced into the medium. Now, I've seen a lot of people argue, what about Sigourney Weaver in Alien? Sure, Ripley is one of the most beloved sci-fi protagonists of all time, but the key difference here is she earned that role. Alien didn't just throw you into the deep end and expect you to care. Ripley grew into the hardened, battle-scarred survivor that we all remember. Beyond that, Sigourney Weaver was already a recognized actress. Audiences were familiar with her and they wanted to see her succeed, but Intergalactic? We know nothing.
Yeah, we had we didn't know her political fucking slant, because this is also the thing with most actors. They say the correct thing, whereas in the past you didn't know and or care what their politics are. You just cared if they're like what shows and what shit they were in. But again, nowadays everyone wants to be the heel. Everyone wants to have eyes on them. Everyone wants to be the fucking clown. And it's like, I get it, you're trying to stand out, but it's how you fucking stand out.
About this character, there's no connection, no earned trust, just an unconventional and uninteresting character with the expectation that we should care. And maybe in isolation this wouldn't be that big of an issue, but considering Naughty Dog's history, it's likely going to be something that nobody wants. They've already played this game before with The Last of Us Part 2. They pushed an overtly divisive character, dismissed player feedback, and then mocked those who pushed back. It's a pattern. And sure enough, that same air of pretentiousness is already hanging around Intergalactic. In an article written by Games Radar...
Yeah, I mean, it's like theater kids, right? People who don't actually care. I swear, I know the name of this actress. It's like, you see his face, and you're like, God damn. But anyway, it's like, they have daddy issues, and sometimes they have an ideology that you absolutely know everything about them, right? And the smugness and the attitude, and it's people like this is what creates those that will just vote against them, that will act against them. Rather, it's a disliking a game that they're probably never going to buy, probably don't care, but because it's Naughty Dog and Neil Cuckman, they do care and they will hate on it. Because journalists won't take, the consumers seriously or take any of the criticism. The company's not going to take any of the criticism. But we need to express our discontent with the game, right? Because people put value in the things they like. Like, maybe you operate based on this, like, eternal nihilism where you don't care about anything. You put zero value on anything. But I'm not that person. I do care. The video games I fucking play, right?
Titled Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet is a game about faith and religion, which Neil Druckmann jokes will surely get less hate than The Last of Us Part 2. You know what? Let's do something people won't care much about. Let's talk about faith and religion. Dustin Bailey writes, the story of The Last of Us 2 proved to be absolutely polarizing, with Some players loving it, others hating it, and a subset of the latter group engaging in an ugly harassment campaign against the developers at Naughty Dog. The studio is now at work on Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, a sci-fi game about religion that the director Neil Druckmann jokes will surely get less hate than The Last of Us 2 did. Druckmann spoke about Intergalactic's fictional timeline with 28 Days Later writer and Civil War director Alex Garland as a part of Sony's Creator-to-Creator podcast series. I joke about this with the team, Druckmann said. With The Last of Us 2, we made certain creative decisions that got us a lot of hate. A lot of people loved it, but a lot of people hated that game. Who gives a shit, Garland quipped. Exactly, but the joke is like, you know what, let's do something that people won't care much about. Let's make a game about faith and religion, Druckmann concluded. While the statute of limitations for spoilers from a...
So, if you're going to make something we don't care about, why do you want my money, right? Because you need my money to exist, or I don't know, maybe Neil Druckmann would rack in a fat paycheck regardless. And again, at the end of the day, were there probably harassment against developers after? Absolutely, right? But we're adults. You know, I mean, we're grown. Are you gonna, like, clutch our pearls when out of, like, the hundreds of millions of people on the internet, you get those couple unhinged lunatics? Like, are we gonna... And then they treat everyone like they're the unhinged lunatic. Like, is that how we're going to act? Right? Because I'm not going to act that way.
A 2020 video game might be up, I'll refrain from speaking too directly about the creative decisions Druckmann is alluding to, since a lot of new Last of Us fans are presumably about to experience them as a part of Season 2 of the TV show. But when it comes to spoilers, Naughty Dog took some extreme measures to keep The Last of Us Part 2 from getting ruined the first time around. I've gotten in a lot of trouble, actually, because I was trying to protect the story, Druckmann told Garland. We released a trailer of The Last of Us 2 where we faked the shot, and we showed Joel somewhere where he would never make it to because of things that happened in the story as a deliberate way to throw off the scent. People that didn't like the game accused that of being false advertisement. Again, who gives a shit? Garland responded. They can't be this stupid. Who am I kidding? Of course they're this stupid. This is a Hollywood movie mentality that has no place in gaming. See, if a movie...
Well, it's a theater kid mentality, right? It's, you know, cry baby, oh, who cares, blah, blah, blah. We're going to rake in the money either way. And it's like, okay, that's true until it's no longer true. And you're going to war with your shareholders like Ubisoft. And the products, again, critically acclaimed products, are just not going to sell. Then you're in trouble, right?
Bombs, it might dent a studio's reputation, but it is nothing compared to the financial impact of a $70 game failing to resonate with its audience. Unlike films, games rely on long-term engagement, word of mouth, and player investment. Saying who gives a shit about an audience criticism while openly antagonizing that very group of people that funded your project in the first place isn't just pretentious, it's signing your own death warrant. Now you want to take it further, double down and set a course correct and proudly announce that your next game's going to be about religion, because that's sure to go well. Nothing says like we learn from our mistakes like choosing an even more divisive topic to alienate what audience you have left. But who gives a shit, right? Let me guess.
To be fair, I mean, where was I going with this? I mean, you have, like, I played Age of Mythology, right? And obviously you have Norse mythology, Egyptian mythology, Greek mythology, and these are effectively the religions in their respective time. But, I mean, what mattered was the gameplay and the units. You know, the mythical units and the heroes and all of that. Like, I mean, I feel like a game, because there's Christian mythology, and it's incredibly difficult, because a Christian mythology, quote unquote, has creatures and has time periods. You have the judges and the prophets, and it's difficult to make a video game like that because Christians will flip the fuck out and call it blasphemous. Atheists will flip the fuck out and think you're trying to convert them, and because of that you have such interesting stories, interesting lore, interesting creatures and settings that'll just never be explored because people like to hyper-analyze things, which I've said it before and I'd say it again. This is why the new generation, I guess, just doesn't deserve entertainment because they go Twitter brained and hyper-analyze everything. So just shutting the fuck up and just consuming entertainment, right? So things like that isn't really bad per se. It's how he's presenting it, right? He's like, yeah, it's there, whatever. It's like, okay, if you don't care, why would I give you my money?
The religion in Intergalactic is built on lies because that's so original. I haven't seen that since, I don't know, every Final Fantasy game, Dragon Age with the Chantry, Outer Worlds with corporate theocracy, Assassin's Creed with Christianity, Far Cry 5 with cults, the Sanctus and Metaphor, and every other religious group in Starfield. Wow, groundbreaking. I'm surprised that the character isn't starting out with amnesia. Knowing.
Yeah, I mean, there are tropes, but it's how you do the quote-unquote trope. Like, in sci-fi, there's always that trope of going to weird planets, meeting weird creatures, doing weird things. And if we're talking like Star Trek, it's moral conundrums. Star Wars is action. I mean, Stargate, I guess it's kind of different. But yeah, I'd say it's more sci-fi also. It's, I don't know, fighting the fucking Giawesomejones. Well, at first they were fighting the Giawesomejones, but then they're in Atlantis, they fought the Wraith. And then I think towards the later seasons of SG-1, they fought the Ori. And I don't know, but there's another Stargate that came out that no one cared about because it tried to be a teen drama and was gay. But anyway, I mean, tropes exist because they work depending on how you make them.
Druckmann, like every other modern gaming writer, there will be zero nuance, it'll be overtly preachy and directly on the nose. You know, the backlash for The Last of Us Part 2 wasn't just about the story decisions, it was about a fundamental shift in Naughty Dog's creative direction under Neil Druckmann's unchecked authority. The studio that had once thrived under collaboration and balance had become a one-man show. I recently went back to play The Last of Us Part 2 and, man, it's just so damn good. There's just so much soul in every part of it. The world feels lived in. The level design and atmosphere make it the most human take on a zombie apocalypse that I've ever seen, but it's the characters that pull you in. The writing, the voice acting, the little moments of conversations that make them feel real, the sound, the music, the pacing. It all just grabs you in a way that few games ever do. I originally had booted it up just to grab some footage for a video, but before I knew it, I was fully immersed, playing the game way longer than I thought that I would. Now I'm finishing it again, because how could I not? It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences that we chase in gaming. The kind...
Yeah, this was a game made by people who know how to make games. I mean, I think Amy Hennig was the flown this flagship, and you can tell because every facet of the game added to the game. It didn't take away, it didn't take you on some side tangent, it didn't try to pull you out of what was happening. Like, you know, you were in, you were in pretty much. I mean, and that's what games are supposed to do. Like, they're trying to sell you a lie, and you're like, yes, sell me this lie so I can be immersed in this lie. I can throw the real world out for maybe a couple hours until I have to go back to real life, and I can just play the game. But games nowadays just don't really do that anymore.
That sticks with you. The feeling you had when you first stepped into Halo, World of Warcraft, Red Dead Redemption, Metal Gear, that pure unforgettable joy of playing something that you know that you're going to remember forever. And that's why I don't understand, how does a studio that created something so masterful as The Last of Us Part 1, how did they end up here? How do you go from a game that resonated so deeply with players, that felt so real, to a sequel that alienated half of the audience, and now a new IP that's doubling down on your worst instincts? Then I remember that I often ask this question with a lot of other series, and I end up coming to the same answer. This isn't the same Naughty Dog. Druckmann has been there the whole time, sure, but before, he used to have people that were keeping him grounded, people that were challenging him, pushing back, and refining his ideas into something that actually worked. Bruce Straley, Amy Hennig, and countless others shaped the Naughty Dog that people fell in love with. Now those voices are gone, and what's left is a studio that no longer has restraint, the balance, or the humility to make something for the players instead of itself. While Druckmann was credited as the creative director of The Last of Us Part 1, the game's story was not his alone. Bruce Straley and other key creatives played a crucial role in shaping it, rejecting his ideas that didn't fit into the world, including Druckmann's original revenge plot, a story where Tess would hunt Joel across the country. Straley pushed back, recognizing that it was forced and out of place, leading to a far stronger narrative that defined The Last of Us 1. But Druckmann never let go of that idea. Once he had full creative control of The Last of Us 2, that scrapped revenge plot became the core of the game. Joel, the heart of The Last of Us 1, was brutally killed off in a way to force players to sympathize for his killer, Abby. Joel, the man that we watched lose his daughter, struggle with trauma, bond with Ellie, and save her, needed to become the villain so that he could promote his personal beliefs and ideologies through Abby. Druckmann even retconned elements of the first game just to justify it, but players weren't buying it, and it backfired spectacularly. Despite massive marketing and media praise, The Last of Us 2 sold a third of the copies of its predecessor, from 30 million copies sold to 10 million copies sold. Naughty Dog burned years of goodwill, not by taking risks, but by refusing to listen, and now they're doing the exact...
Yeah, and that's what happens with IPs, right? That goes down this route. Like, it takes years to build a brand and an IP, but you can destroy it in effectively a day, or a single bad product, or not shutting your fucking mouth and selling the game. You gotta shit on the consumer in the IP and further justify people not buying it. Like, it's not fair, but it's the way it is. I mean, and I guess Neil Cuckman fails to understand, so I guess he just doesn't care. Like, now that he has full unfeathered control over the company, he's just doing whatever the fuck he wants. But I'm really wondering how long Naughty Dog is going to exist, or if Naughty Dog's going to go the same trajectory as many other companies, just burning hundreds of millions of dollars for nothing.
Exact same thing again with their next game. And we keep seeing this cycle happen over and over again. Games that first and foremost should be video games are being hijacked by poor leadership and turned into battlegrounds for personal ideologies. It's not about creating great stories or memorable experiences anymore. It's about making a statement, drawing a line in the sand, and daring players to pick a side. You know, one of the things that I really like about making videos is that I get to evolve my opinion over time. I get to take in more information, I get to research, I get to read articles and watch videos and read the comments and things like that. And
all the things that I don't do. Look, I mean, I have other things to do, you know. And I try looking for articles on a thing, and then it's taken down. Or trying to look for things, and then you see videos about people talking about the thing, but you don't see the thing itself. It's like, hey, I mean...
One thing that I've noticed is that I've seen a lot of people that have talked about how there needs to be less social politics and politics in video games. And I think that that sidesteps and misses the point entirely. Because some of the most popular games, some of my most favorite games, and likely even your favorite games, have had some level of social or political content mixed into those games. But the difference is that with those games... See, we could understand the perspective of its creators because they did such a good job making the game and communicating their message or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and the politics didn't, the politics wasn't at the forefront of the game. What's at the forefront of the game was the gameplay and the story and the writing. It wasn't trying to tell you, oh no, this is how you should think about the thing. It treated you like an adult, even though you're probably a 13-year-old idiot playing Metal Gear. Like, it didn't treat you like you're a bad person until you play this game, and now you're a better person. It just wanted to be a good game.
The problem today is that things are so polarized. The line is being drawn so deep that we can't enjoy the game unless we perfectly align with the beliefs of its creator. The player's experience is coming at the cost of the message. That's not the way that things should be. That's not good management. That's not good creative direction. That's not a good video game.
Yeah, that's people with daddy issues trying to impose their daddy issues on everybody else. Like, as if they're talking to that bully that bullied them in high school, but because they're weak and they can't really face up to the people that shit on them, they have to then go into spaces where gamers are and then morally lecture to them, right? As if they were the bully. Like, everyone knows these types of people that you just cannot have an adult conversation with. You cannot enjoy things with them because they spurg.
And ultimately, it's doing more harm not only to the studio, to its reputation, but also to the message that they're trying to deliver in the first place. It's an ineffectual product. And unless I'm mistaken, over the last couple of years, some of the most popular games that we have seen have been games that had nothing abrasively divisive about them. So then my question is, where is this obsession coming from? And why is it uniquely American in a lot of cases? Is it ego? Is it social?
Because Americans, like, we live such privileged lifestyles that we have to invent problems in our own head and then thrust them upon people around you. Like, I don't act like this, but I understand the mindset of people that do. It's just a stupid fucking mindset. Like, the games are satanic, the fucking heavy metal satanic, D&D satanic cult, which created the wokies. The games are racist games or sexist. If you're a gamer, you're a bad person. Like, it's that level of moralization that can only come from people in a first world nation that don't have problems and don't have issues. Like, people who do have issues and problems don't do this. Like, people that have responsibilities don't act like this. Like, why would you invent problems for yourself? Like, what the fuck sense does that make? But no, people here in the West do. It's fucking annoying. And hey, I mean, you just kind of gotta deal with it. And it's also the Twitter brain mindset of hyper analyzing everything. You can't just allow you can't just allow things you don't like to exist. You have to morally impose on everybody else. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Media? And even more so, how are these publishers greenlighting it in the first place? This is not the stance that you should take against your audience. You should not shrug off their complaints. You should be listening to them. You should not be doubling down on your mistakes. I read another article that was talking about the podcast with Druckmann, and they said, yes, we need somebody out there challenging social norms. No, you don't. You need somebody selling video games. I'm sure that's what the Naughty Dog employees are going to be chanting from the unemployment line. We were challenging social norms. No.
Yeah, just challenging social norms, quote unquote, pay the bills. No. Does selling a good game pay your bills? Yes. And I mean, I guess if you work a position in these companies that you don't care, like an upper management position where you get paid regardless, I mean, you probably don't care. You probably have a cushy job and your job is this. But the people actually on the ground doing the coding, doing the art, like, will they have a job? And you can't blame the consumer. Look, the agreement is the consumer gives you money, you give them good game. That's it. Like, no one's obligated to pay to buy a game or to buy a product. And when has morally imposing on people ever made them do a thing? Right? Like, I mean, I guess people will lie to you just to shut you the fuck up. But will anyone, like, they'll vote against you. It's like people don't like having to tell a lie just to keep some fucking spurred away from them. Like, no one wants to live like that, right? But that's how, for some reason, there's people that want you to live this way, want you to tell them lies. And these people, they don't tend to not have a lot of friends, I suppose, because friends tend to tell you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. I mean, guy friends absolutely will tell you what you need to hear. I guess if they're like girlfriends, like I guess they care for social cohesion, but guy friends will absolutely fucking tell you this shit.
What are you talking about? You know, the only thing that makes sense to me is that these companies were caught up in the political and social chaos of 2020. They mistook outrage for sustainable engagement, and they invested in it. And now they're so far down the rabbit hole that they can't turn back around. And now here we are watching yet another studio and another game going to its inevitable end. You know, games media has spent years shielding developers from the consequences of their own decisions, bending over backwards to explain away obvious failures while outright refusing to engage with the real reasons why games fail or succeed. The Gamer recently published an article analyzing why Monster Hunter Wilds is thriving and Dragon Age the Veilguard is floundering. And while they touch on some solid points, they conveniently ignore the elephant in the room. One game respected its audience, the other didn't. Nowhere in the...
Yeah, didn't they try to say, accessibility? It's like, accessibility is probably like the ninth layer of, you know, the thing. The first layer is the gameplay. And then there's all these other layers that Veilguard flopped. And accessibility, I mean, I guess it was an accessible game because it was so fucking easy a 12-year-old could play it. But was it a good game? I mean, I guess if you didn't care for the TED Talk about non-binary is fine.
This article is Veilguard's infantilized, censored narrative discussed. Nowhere is there a critique about how the art style abandoned the franchise's grittier fantasy aesthetic, an aesthetic that we have seen games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3 have proven is massively successful. The article completely sidesteps how the game's modern social commentary, gender ideology, and contemporary dialogue completely clash with its medieval fantasy setting, alienating players who wanted a classic Dragon Age experience. But they do bring up something interesting, a concept: room to shrink. And I think this is really important context in regards to Intergalactic and as well as many other games that we've seen fail. Andrew King of The Gamer wrote, "Most straightforward answer is that Monster Hunter had a lot more rough edges to sand off. It's a series that is known for its complex combat, esoteric multiplayer, and interlocking systems that aren't always well tutorialized. Monster Hunter Wilds still delivered on much of what the series is known for, as someone who has played a couple dozen hours of the previous games, but never dove into one especially deep. Wilds is very recognizable as Monster Hunter. The core loop is still there, it's just contextualized a bit differently thanks to this entry's greater emphasis on story and characters. Killing monsters, harvesting their parts, turning them into gear, that's all still here, but with a better on-ramp, lower difficulty, and more narrative hooks. The game also retains much of the series' complexity. You still have a ton of weapon types that each take practice to master. There are multiple currencies that you need to collect, crafting to engage with, and thoughtful combat to learn. The Veilguard's problem is that Dragon Age was never as tough to master as Monster Hunter. Origins had a lot of role-playing depth and a detailed real-time with pause battle system, but the previous entries had already moved away from that by the time that Veilguard rolled around.
And these are also just two completely different types of games. I mean, like, what do they? I guess they have combat in common. I guess with World or Wilds, they try to go for more of a narrative bent. But I don't know. I think there's more separating these two games and combining them, in my opinion.
Veilguard was streamlined in every way. It traded in Inquisition's open world for a level-based structure, and the levels were hyperlinear, leaving little room for exploration. The dialogue choices were superficial, allowing for little real roleplay. The combat was fun but simple, action RPG fare. The series lore was pared back or ignored, and the companions were largely uninteresting. The game began as a live service game, and it shows in the lack of detail and depth given to the world. It feels like a place you would inhabit with 100 other players, not like it was designed to react to your actions. The idea is simple here. Monster Hunter can afford to lose some of its players after launch because it has a strong, dedicated fan base. The series has always been built on a solid foundation, and it continues to expand without alienating the people that made it a success. It attracts in new players, but it doesn't sacrifice its identity to do so. Now compare that to Dragon Age the Veilguard, which did the opposite. Instead of keeping its fan base intact and growing outward, it boxed itself in, narrowing its appeal to a very specific player while disregarding the ones that kept the franchise alive for over a decade. The result? A game that didn't have any room to shrink because it had nowhere else left to go. It was a game...
Like, I don't even, like... I don't know, like, what type of game Dragon Age the Veilguard was, because you had dialogue options, and it was being the nice guy or being the slightly less nice guy. You couldn't be an asshole to everybody. Like when Tosh was doing her fucking TED Talk about non-binary, you couldn't be like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with anything? Right? Like, can we not do this? Like, the world's about to end. What the fuck are we talking about non-binary bullshit for? I mean, it's a game that effectively played itself. Like, your companions couldn't die. So you could just jump around and dodge and flip around and dodge roll. And your companions would eventually just take out the enemies. I mean, like I said, a 12-year-old could play this, but if my 12-year-old ass played this game, I'd be like, what the fuck is this supposed to be?
Game that launched into a corner and now it's stuck. Now with that added context, you should see my perspective, because The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the clearest warning signs available. Just like Veilguard, it narrowed its audience, disregarded what made the original resonate with millions so that they could push an alienating, polarizing narrative, and now Naughty Dog is doubling down again with Intergalactic. Instead of course correcting, these studios are spending more money while selling to fewer people. Every new game has a bigger budget, a longer development cycle, and higher expectations, but instead of broadening their appeal, they just keep shrinking their audience to an ideological niche. The cycle is obvious by now. Shrink the audience, spend more money in development, dismiss criticism, and then blame the players when it flops.
Yeah, they're shrinking their audience, like, to a group of people that don't, like, maybe some of them play the game, but a good portion of them don't. Like, they're ideologues, like, they're people on Twitter that with Karen-ass mindset. They're not people that invest in your game. They're not fans. You know, they're not fanatics. They're not people that will buy the merch. I mean, if there's even any fucking merch of Abby, god damn it. Right? And this is why games are $70, $80, $90, $100. Because things like merch, like merchandise, you know, like offsets the price of the game, you know. Like, I can take Warframe, for example, like TennoCon. Like, these things are their money maker. It's why the game can be free, but still rake in fucking money. Like, it's this way with a lot of gacha games. They sell a lot of merchandise. Like, they do a lot of, like real life, like, cons. And if you don't do this right, if you don't sell merch, you have to do predatory business practices. You have to make the consumer pay for your lack of branding, your lack of IP protection in order to survive. And kids nowadays are fine with that. Like, they're fine with being fleeced at every given point for more and more of their money. Because they know no better. Right?
Can't believe I actually have to say this, but if you're spending more money while making a game that fewer people want and actively dividing the audience that you do have, you are going to fail. And it's not just that developers are refusing to recognize clear warning signs, it's become an industry apparatus. Instead of engaging with player criticism in good faith, they've developed an overused playbook: gaslight, deflect, and vilify. When players were pushing back against...
Yeah, that and the journalists help them do this. Like, they're their shills. And enough people see this shit happening. It's like, what the fuck? Like, why would I pay for these products if you don't care for me?
The Last of Us Part 2, they were told that their criticism wasn't valid. They were lumped in with some of the worst people online, the doxers, the threats, the actual extremists. Instead of addressing real concerns, the character assassinations, the forced narrative shifts, the retcons that broke player immersion, the conversation was hijacked by something else entirely. And we've seen the exact same pattern play out with Dragon Age the Veilguard. The second that players expressed any concern about the art direction, the infantilized writing, the forced modern social commentary, the media framed it as reactionary backlash. It was never about why players rejected the game. It was about blaming the audience for not embracing progress. Even Mark Dara, one of the key figures behind Dragon Age, went onto YouTube to make a video to lecture players about how they don't even know who to blame when a game
Yeah, we did a video about him.
fails. He hyper-fixated on a minority of bad actors, using them as a shield to deflect legitimate criticism. Man, these developers really love the spotlight when things go well. When their games succeed, they will happily take credit. They'll do interviews, they'll take awards, they'll bask in the praise, but the second that things go sideways, suddenly blame is nebulous. Suddenly it's the audience being toxic. Suddenly it's the publisher's fault or the marketing's fault or some intangible misunderstanding rather than the obvious reality. They made a game that people didn't want, and they'll blame you when it fails. We've reached a point where this cycle of gaslighting, deflection, and alienation isn't just leading to bad games, it's actively killing studios. This industry has suffered one of the worst years for layoffs in gaming history. Thousands of developers out of work, entire studios shuttered. We're seeing massive budget cuts, project cancellations, and publishers scrambling to course correct. And yet...
Yeah, and again, to be fair, at the beginning of COVID, there was a lot of investment put into, or while COVID was gone, there was a lot of investment put into entertainment. Like, they projected wild growth, above the whole, social things that are happening and the consultants and shills being shoved in to to cover the company's ass. And now all that amounted to absolutely nothing because the people they hired actively sabotaged the company. And now we're at the situation where people are being laid off. I mean, and again, they're trying to jerk a tear from my cock, but these are the same people that turned to me and said, "Oh, well, we don't want you as our consumer," right? And it's like, okay, so they didn't have me as a consumer, and they talked this way to a bunch of other gamers, people who play games, and now their studio's getting shuttered. Like, it's such like the cycle. Like you see the things happening in real time, but people still don't understand what's going on, right?
Instead of acknowledging the real problems, spending more money while making games for fewer people, these studios and the media are doubling down on the same failing strategy. How many times now have we seen publishers gamble on a high-budget game, throwing in every divisive and alienating design choice possible, and then act confused when it fails? This is the road that Naughty Dog is walking with Intergalactic. They already saw the backlash and the sales drop-off from The Last of Us Part 2, but instead of learning from it, they're mocking the very idea of a course correction. They think they're above their audience. They think that they can push whatever message they want, spend hundreds of millions of dollars on it, and people will just accept it. But that's not how this works anymore. If Intergalactic fails, Naughty Dog is in serious trouble. Sony is not going to endlessly fund passion projects that sell half of what they used to. The Last of Us Part 1 sold 30 million copies. Part 2 sold 10 million. What happens when Intergalactic barely scrapes by at 5? They are
Yeah, and again, we live in a world now, like a industry now that 10 million ain't shit, right? Like, it won't meet the overwhelming expectations and infinite growth that AAA multi-billion-dollar American Western companies need. Like, 10 million, like, isn't shit. And this is probably for, like, a $70 fucking game, right? That probably will cost 300, 400 million to make. I mean, it's where we live. Those are the times we live,
spending more to sell less, and they're actively mocking their audience. And you can only do that for so long because you're going to run out of money, you're going to run out of goodwill, and you're going to run out of time. You know, before researching and writing for this video, I didn't realize that Naughty Dog had lost such critical talent. And that always ends up being such a root cause issue when it comes to some of these studios, because it's never just one great mind that's making something. It's a network of them. They're pushing back on one another. They're iterating. They're shutting some ideas down. They're refining the game and the content that's going to be in it to make the game that everybody actually wants to play. But looking at, you know, Neil Druckmann apparently...
Yeah, and it's also games made by gamers for gamers. Like, the very people putting that code in that fucking game are also the people that have a say in the game, right? And so many older games have this, and yeah, a couple flops, but yeah, also had some of the best damn games that define the golden age of gaming, right? Put their mark on, and now you have just a bunch of people like Halo Studios, people who just don't care for the IP, that just got a job, and like, what's Halo doing? God knows what.
Left to his own devices, his ego and his own motivations take precedent over what players want. You know, Amy Hennig, as an example, was behind Nathan Drake, the Uncharted series, but also she was behind Legacy of Kain. Mm-hmm. Bruce Straley seems like the guy that was really keeping Druckmann in check. He was the one that helped write the story for Last of Us Part 1, and he worked on Uncharted. Losing that kind of talent has a long-lasting effect, especially if the creative director that you're leaving behind doesn't know how to steer the ship. You know, I hate that there are bad actors out there that are threatening developers and doxing them and things like that, but at the same time, I hate it even more that they're used as a way to be able to deflect criticism, genuine criticism about a game. And it only makes things worse because the developers ignore the criticism and then they double down on things to be contrarians, to be adversarial more than anything else, and then you're just going to get even more of those people as a result of it. I'm not saying that you need to bend to their will. I'm just saying ignore them, but don't ignore the players that are genuinely criticizing the work.
Yeah, don't ignore the people putting food on your fucking table. And hell, maybe one of the person putting food on your table is being, you know, a cheeky little asshole. But again, we're all adults at this table, right? I mean, like, nut the fuck up.
And, you know, I saw a lot of people that were like, oh, when they saw my reaction to Intergalactic, you know, this is political or this is ideological. It's not. Like, I don't like the game, or I don't like the way the game looks because I just don't like the way the character looks. It's literally as simple as that. It's not an attractive character. It's not a necessarily interesting character. And looking at the history of Naughty Dog and what they did with The Last of Us Part 2, which I personally hated, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I know that it's not for me, and I don't buy games that are not made for me. Well, sometimes I do by accident.
You do when they pull the wool over your eyes, right? And then they try to, you know, subvert. They take your money, then you get a bad product, and then enough people get sick and tired of it. And yeah, it's to the point where, yeah, they will not even bother to pick up the product. Like, they'll just see the things around it, see the companies and the people making it, and based off them alone. Because, again, based off Neil Druckmann, like, he was saying all about he's a feminist, he's this, that, and the other. You know everything about him. And it's like, based off all of that, it's like, you know the type of person he is. You know, and plus the ego, plus, you know, being a cheeky little shit and going against the audience. Like, again, I'm not going to even care to pick up this game because of all of that. Not even knowing if the game's going to be good or not, right? You know, I've been burned before, never again. And it sucks because people may pass up legitimately good games because of this. But this is why you never get to this point. Like, it's gotten to this point. People are defending it getting to this point. And now they're being surprised. People are just not buying games. Like, they're like writing off games before they're even out. It's like, well, yes, right?
just come to the conclusion that none of this is going to stop until some of these studios just wipe themselves off the map. And that sucks because some of these studios have come up with some of the greatest games, literally some of all-time greatest games. But they don't, you know what? It's like they view their customers like friends on Facebook. How many times have you guys seen somebody post something on Facebook saying that they want to, you know, if you believe in X or Y, you can unfriend me and never talk to me again, friend or family?
I mean, I think like the same people that work for Naughty Dog that for Last of Us 1 either are not there anymore or they're just, again, they signed the paper saying, oh, if you talk shit about this, we will fire you. I mean, and imagine, you know, and it's also the culture of toxic positivity, because imagine a developer in Dragon Age Velguard see the whole gender identity thing and they're like, what the fuck is this stupid ass shit? Like, people will throw, you know, moral labels at him and then get him ousted immediately. I mean, this is where we're at in the industry, and we see the effect happening with products just not selling, right? People are running away from this people and companies with this mentality towards even fucking gotcha games with waifus that fleece you for fucking money to avoid Western entertainment doing this.
Like, there's no compromise. You can never find common ground. It's this way or the highway, and that's about it. And now that's bleeding into the products that we're buying. That's not good for business. It's sad. There's no way to be able to find progress there. You have to compromise in one way, shape, or form. You know, I'm not going to write off Intergalactic entirely. I always wait to at least see what it looks like when it releases at the end of the day, except for Concord and To Kill the Justice League, but you can kind of see those ones from a mile away. But yeah, I mean, looking at the way that they're already talking about it, watching that podcast, these guys just can't get over themselves.
Yeah, don't they have a PR team that tells them what to say and what not to say? Were they part of the people fired? Like, I guess so. I mean, because what Neil Druckmann's saying is just bad fucking PR. Like, maybe it's good PR for the people that worship and gurgle his fucking meat, but for the consumers and the shareholders, is that like good PR for them?
And if you're only thinking about yourself, how are you supposed to sell something to somebody else? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. Share the video to your friends, comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe.
Family.
Oh,
Family.
God.
Family.
But yeah, and again, like everyone sees this happening, even if you can't really articulate what's going on. Like, you know it. It's happening. A Japanese journalist once said The Last of Us Part 2 is a game about right and wrong made by people who think they are always right. Yes, abso-fucking-lutely. You know, and again, people with this fucking mindset you just can't talk to. Who gives a shit? Your customers and their wallets, apparently. Yeah, again, I'm mastering the closed wallet technique. I think I'm really getting there, right? You know, I need to do a couple more reps of retract wallet. Like, my biceps are going to be hard. Naughty Dog has a new game coming. Who gives a shit? I mean, not Neil Druckmann, apparently. Our games just feel so sterile now. They're beautiful, but absolutely empty. It's like walking down the streets, seeing a restaurant that looks and smells absolutely fantastic, only to walk inside and find out it's the DMV. Yeah. It's like, yeah, games look graphically impressive, but then you play the game and it's like, oh, garbage story. This is made for you, no problem. This will not be bought by me then. Got him. When Naughty Dog goes out of business and everyone's crying about being laid off, remember the immortal words of Alex Garland and Neil Druckmann. Who gives a shit? Neil's such a Kojima tryhard. I mean, Kojima actually makes fucking good games. Like, don't ever compare these two, both of them. Kojima, well, he wants to make fucking movies, and it kind of shows, but he made good games. Kojima uses politics to tell a story. Druckmann uses politics to tell a story to tell politics. Yeah, I mean, Druckmann puppets the game like a fucking VTuber, whereas Kojima just gives you a fucking game. But anyway, I mean, that's all I gotta say about this. Just singing the praises of Naughty Dog. Like, I am an Olympic hater of Neil Cuckman, right? Just so you know. But anyway, that's all I gotta say. Peace.